Success isn't random. It follows a code. Welcome to the Conant Code, where we break down the strategies, challenge the myths, and uncover the truth in 5 minutes or less. Now, let's crack the code.
Most people today think Labor Day is the unofficial end of summer. A barbecue, a day at the lake, maybe a big sale at the mall. But that's not why we have it. And the further we get away from the time it was created, the fewer people even know what the real purpose was. Step back into the late 1800s. America was booming. Railroads stretched from coast to coast. Factories roared day and night. Immigrants poured in, cashing on opportunity. But for the workers who built the boom, life was brutal. Your ancestors worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week. There was no weekends, no paid time off. Children as young as 8 worked in the mills and mines. Safety barely existed. If you got hurt, you were just simply replaced. Can you imagine telling an 8-year-old today they'd have to go work in a coal mine? That kind of pressure gave birth to the labor movement. Workers began to organize. They marched. They went on strike. They weren't asking for luxury. They were asking for basic dignity, shorter hours, safer conditions, and laws that would finally protect them. Then came 1894, the Pullman strike. I wonder if they even teach this in school anymore. Workers at the Pullman Railcar Company in Chicago walked out after their wages were cut, while their rents in the company-owned housing stayed high. The strike spread across the country, shutting down rail traffic. President at the time, Grover Cleveland, he worried the economy would collapse, called in federal troops. Violence followed. Train cars burned. Soldiers opened fire. At least a dozen workers were killed. Hundreds were injured. The nation was shaken. And within days, Cleveland signed Labor Day into law, not just as a holiday, but as a peace offering, a way to recognize that American workers weren't disposable, even if the system treated them that way. That's where Labor Day comes from blood, from sacrifice, from people who risked everything to demand respect. But the further we get from 1894, the softer the story becomes. For most of us, it's a long weekend, a day off, maybe a cookout. The original meaning fades a little more with each generation. Labor Day exists because people literally died demanding reasonable hours and fair pay. The fact has been buried under parades, fireworks, and hot dogs. And here's something I think we forget. Back then, long hours weren't a choice. They were a condition. You worked 12 hours, 6 or 7 days a week, or you lost your job. And once you lost your job, you and your family lost your chance of survival because someone more desperate would take your place, and there was always someone more desperate. That's why workers fought back, not to avoid hard work. They were already working harder than most of us can even imagine, but to gain control, to set limits, to make sure exhaustion wasn't the only option. Today, some of us are willing to put in 60, 70, even 80 hours, but we do it for building something for ourselves. That's different. The fight in 1894 was all about survival. The fight today is about balance. Labor Day reminds us that choice itself is a privilege that they never had. So this Labor Day, remember where it all came from. It wasn't given to us. It was won by people who put their jobs, their livelihoods, in some cases, their lives on the line. Labor Day is a reminder that the weekend you enjoy was built on their sacrifice. And that, my friends, is the Conant Code.
That's it for this episode of the Conant Code. If you got something out of it, share it with a friend, follow the show, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. More insights, more strategies, and more code breaking coming soon. Until next time, keep thinking, keep building, and keep pushing forward.